Hi everyone, Simon Chappell here. I'm the Quit Alcohol Coach, and as always, I want to make sure that you smash your sobriety. There's new videos on my YouTube channel every Tuesday and every Thursday. So if you enjoy the content, please hit the red subscribe button on the screen right now so that you don't miss out on any more videos in the future. And if you need more help in sobriety, visit joinbesober.com, where you can join my quit drinking program totally free for the first 14 days. In today's video, I wanted to talk about enablers. What is an enabler? What are the signs of somebody who is an enabler? And how do you stop and change someone who might be enabling you? Or if you're enabling somebody else, what do you need to do to stop it? So an enabler is somebody who allows a loved one or someone close to continue with self-destructive behaviors. They don't take steps to protect the individual. Instead, they actually help it, they aid it, they allow the patterns of behavior to continue. Now, there can be a bit of a stigma attached to the term enabler, and it's important to explain that a lot of people who are enablers don't do it out of any form of malice or with intention. They often do this from a place of love, thinking they're helping the loved one. They don't realize that actually they've become an enabler. But if you know the signs of enabling and know what to do about it, you can make a change, and it's easier than you think. So I'm going to share with you, first of all, the signs to look for to notice if somebody's enabling you or if you're enabling somebody else. Let's dive straight into that. And then afterwards, I'll share exactly what to do about it in order to make a change. One thing many enablers do is make excuses for the addict. The addict might have drunk too much the night before, and the enabler finds themselves calling into work for the addict, making excuses for them, and preventing them from accepting responsibility for their own actions. The addict fails to see the consequences of what they're doing because the enabler keeps cleaning up after them. That is classic enabling. And an enabler might also help out financially, where the addict can't afford to pay their bills or pay for the substance that they're abusing. The enabler might step in. They might buy their alcohol for them. They might cover their rent, pay for something that they can't afford. Again, this is all classic signs of enabling. Another sign of an enabler is someone who avoids conflict just to keep the peace. So they won't talk to the addict about their problem. They won't pick them up on the negative traits of their behavior because they don't want a conflict. They want a quiet life and they just want to keep the peace and a happy feeling. And they will often repeatedly rescue their loved one to save them from pain. Whereas in fact, it's often better to allow the addict to make some mistakes and to feel the consequences of their actions in order to spur them to make a change. Because that change has to come from within the addict. Every time the enabler saves them, it prevents the addict facing up and looking in the mirror at their own behavior and feeling and experiencing the consequences of what they're doing to themselves and what they're doing to other people. And enablers often treat the addict like a child. There's very often a parent-child type of relationship going on. Sometimes enablers are narcissistic and they do a lot of the things for their own benefit. And being controlling, manipulating people, creating a form of codependency, all goes hand in hand with that. And it's really important to bring this all out into the light and to notice if any of these signs are coming up in your life, whether you're enabling somebody or whether somebody's enabling you, you need to take steps to make a powerful change and a positive change. And we'll get to that in just a moment. And it's common to see enablers actually joining in with the activity themselves. I often see partners who both drink. One of them wants to quit drinking, the other one wants to continue. So they do all they can to derail the sobriety process for their partner. And lots of these behaviors tend to come out into the light where they continue to try and enable them to try and get them to drink. That's not coming from a place of love. I also see it where somebody genuinely wants their partner to be okay. They want to see them happy, and they think the best course of action is buying them alcohol and enabling their behavior, which absolutely is not. And they often always give that person one last chance. No matter how far they go with their behavior, they will always get them out of trouble. They'll always pull them away from seeing the consequences of what they're doing to themselves and how they're impacting their lives and the lives of other people. So take a moment and just think about whether there's anyone in your life who is enabling you, or whether you are enabling somebody yourself. And if you are, massive respect for facing up to that and doing something about it. So what do you do if you are enabling somebody or somebody is enabling you? Well, the most important thing is that enablers need to become empowerers. They need to turn the addict into somebody who feels empowered in making a change for themselves. That change can only come from within. We can't change other people's behavior. Somebody needs to want to get sober for themselves. There's no way that we can change it by forcing them or taking out certain actions, punishments, penalties, making life easier or harder for that person. It has to come from within. When they feel empowered to do it themselves, they're going to feel motivated and hungry to move forward towards change. And that really is where the lasting change happens. So instead of encouraging the behavior, it's important to set safe boundaries. Now, if somebody's enabling you and you've recognized those behaviors, it's worth sitting them down, having an open and vulnerable conversation, setting boundaries and being really clear on what your expectations are. What do you need from that person to stay safe in your sobriety? Spell it all out, write it all down and find out exactly what it is that you'll need from them. If they've been buying you wine every time they go to the store, you need to be clear that they're not to do that. If you've been begging them to buy you alcohol, you need to let them know that under no circumstances should they give in to you, and you actually want them to stand firm. Even when you're crying and on your hands and knees begging them to get you booze, they need to stand firm. But if they don't know these things, then they think they might be doing the best by you, when actually all they're doing is fueling the fire of addiction. And whether you're the enabler or the addict in this situation, both of you need to stop making excuses, because excuses are just going to continue the behavior. You need to face up to the reality, look in the mirror and be completely honest about what's going on. That's where the magic happens. That's when you can start having some really open, vulnerable, honest conversations and start bringing about true, lasting change. And once you've set boundaries and expectations, you might find that an enabler continues their behavior. They might have been doing it for such a long time that it's a habit. You need to challenge them on their behavior if that happens. Notice it, bring it out into the light and talk to them about it. Communication is everything. Of course, you may be able to distance yourself from certain enablers, but if you live with somebody day in, day out, it is so important to communicate clearly and effectively about this, and to pick them up on their behavior if you find that they're going back to their old ways. It's worth writing it down and even having an agreement, setting out boundaries and setting out expectations between the two parties involved. And while you're at it, take the time to list out all of the behaviors that allow the problem to continue. Identify the people, the places, the thoughts, the beliefs that could put you in a position that might compromise your sobriety. And from there, you can create a freedom plan. What do you need in place to stay perfectly safe? It could be as simple as making sure there's no alcohol in the house, giving your credit or debit cards to somebody else to prevent you from buying alcohol. Whatever you need to do, be really honest with yourself and take those steps. And do remember that after the first week or so of being alcohol free, it becomes so much easier. We develop a new level of mental resilience. We're feeling much more positive and start to feel so much stronger as we go forward. And it's worth taking the time to learn about how to empower your enabler to become an empowerer. Teach them the skills that they need to know. Read up on it. You're obviously watching this video, which is an excellent step, but try and learn how you can empower them to empower you, to allow you to find freedom. And if you are an enabler, do more reading about how to change from enabling to empowering, because that is where the power lies. The more you can do that, the more you can truly help the person that you really do love and that you really do want to help. And another great step, whether you're the enabler or somebody who's got a problem with alcohol or another kind of addiction, is to ask the enabler to join you in sobriety. Go on the journey together. It can be a wonderfully powerful thing when you both become accountable to each other. However, I must say, be careful not to allow your sobriety to become contingent on somebody else's. You don't want them to have a setback and feel that that means you've got to now start drinking again. That can be a dangerous place. So only do that if you feel completely safe. So take the time to spot if there's an enabler in your life or if you're enabling somebody else. Sometimes it can be very subtle and we don't even realize we're doing it. I recently had a client who was suffering from some very heavy cravings, and her husband thought that the best thing for her was to buy wine because it would bring her back to a happy place. It would end the pain for her. But of course, it just kept her in the cycle of addiction. It kept her in the loop of pain. It was actually the worst possible thing that he could done. But he didn't realize he did it from a place of love. He did it from a place of caring. It was because they hadn't communicated, boundaries hadn't been set, and expectations weren't clear. If you can take the time to identify anyone who carries out this behavior, or if you're carrying out the behavior yourself, you can really help the person that you love and make a really huge difference. So just be honest, be open with yourself. And if you spot any of these signs, either in you or in somebody else, start to take positive steps and bring about some really strong, powerful change.